Multiplying billiard balls has been a favorite effect of mine for many, many years. I started out when I was about 8 years old. I had one of those little Adams magic sets. That's with the little wooden ball and a little metal shell that nobody could do at any age because they're so tiny. But still, I was fascinated with it. And in one of my favorite books, Classic Secrets of Magic by Bruce Elliott, there was a terrific routine in there that I worked through. And over the years, a number of people have shared with me a variety of techniques, and I've created a number of different routines over the years. There was a routine I had in my very, very first manuscript called Trifecta back in, 1978. And that involved multiplying balls and color changes, and the last ball changed to a cane, and that was pretty complex. Then in 1981, I competed at the IBM and was in the gold medal finals, and I did an 8-ball routine in there, and that was even more complex. And I found that the single ball manipulations and color changes were the strongest parts of those routines. And so I created another routine simply based on those. But that fit another act. And when I work for real people in real situations, I like to open my regular talk act with a silent routine. That is to say, a routine to music, not really silent, because the music is very, very important. The ball routine that I base this on is the Alan Wakeling ball routine, a brilliant routine in the book that Jim Steinmeier wrote. And in fact, a number of the techniques Jack Channon, because I grew up in Philadelphia, I knew Jack Channon from when I was a young man. Jack had actually shown me some of those techniques before I ever knew they were Wakelings. And what I did was kind of retool the thing because I didn't like everything in the Wakeling routine. And I wanted to make sure that I started with a magical production of the first ball as opposed to opening the box and taking the balls out. So let's start with the requirements. Basically, there are no special holders needed, but you need 4 solid balls and a shell. Now, 2 of the balls are loaded in the front left pocket. There is a ball and shell inside of your top hat. And just so you see, they're just laying there like this. Okay? And you also need a handkerchief. Now, I use one that's obviously a contrast. A red handkerchief contrasts nicely with the white balls. And by the way, I am using the Bikini balls. This particular set is a 2-inch set, but I do occasionally use a special 2 1/8-inch set that Frank Radke had made for me. You fold it up and place it in your hat so that the corners, the open corners, are down. And you place the ball on top of it. So in this way, you could do it at any point in your act. And I begin by reaching in. I immediately palm the ball, and that goes into a classic palm position. Okay. As I pick up the handkerchief and lay it on my hand. Now notice the handkerchief turns over. That's the reason I have the corners down in the hat to begin with. So I can immediately take a corner, and it opens up very cleanly, very nicely. And I look at the audience and cross my hands. That is to say, I'm crossing the right over the left and exposing the left palm without looking at my hands. And when I uncross them, I look at them, and as I shake my hands in an up and down fashion, I'm transferring the ball from my right palm to my left palm. So in action, it happens like that. And now I show the handkerchief by crossing the same way, but this time I'm exposing the right palm. So in essence, I'm doing a changeover palm. And now I throw the handkerchief over my left hand. But notice the way that I do it, the ball stays hidden behind the handkerchief. And I do it with a tossing action. So it looks like the handkerchief is sitting flat on my hand. In reality, it's sitting like this, so you don't see the ball. And when I want the ball to appear, as I gesture, I simply open my hand up, and the form of the ball appears under the handkerchief. So once again, with the handkerchief on the hand, it looks like this. Now, because I'm using the Bikini balls, and they are rubber, or silicone, I should say, I have to toss the handkerchief first before I take it off. Otherwise, the friction of the ball against the handkerchief will pull it off my hand. So I toss it up and whip it off and let it roll to the fingertips and allow it to register whenever you do a move where you are going to produce or vanish an object. You should always pause for at least 2 beats. 3 is preferable. I throw the handkerchief over my arm, toss it from hand to hand, and I do a ball roll, simple ball roll. I'm just rolling it between the fingers like this. Okay? Back and forth. And now I'm going to do the slap vanish, which is Maurice Rooklyn from Australia. And this is a great, compelling vanish. It's actually my favorite vanish. And it's so simple. I'm going to show it to you from the back side. Basically, the move is you're tossing the ball and catching it and turning your hand. Just like this. Toss, catch, turn the hand. This is combined with this hand going like this and making a grabbing motion. So it's this combined with this. You end up with that. From the front, it looks a lot better. Now, notice one other thing. When I catch the ball, I don't close my fist like this because you can never hold a ball in it. What you want to do is look at your hand, see what it looks like when the ball's actually in it, and duplicate that motion when you actually are doing the vanish. That is to say, you're miming catching the ball. And I turn the hand, and I'm kind of cheating, breaking at the wrist. And I'm using the handkerchief like a magic wand. When magicians used to use the magic wand, they used to carry a wand so that it hid the unnatural appearance of the hand palming an object. So I'm using the handkerchief like the wand, tossing and vanishing the ball. And I immediately transfer the handkerchief to the other hand. Now, the way that I transfer it to the other hand is I separate the index and middle fingers, and I place the handkerchief so that the bulk of the handkerchief hangs over the backs of the fingers. And the reason I do that is because I'm going to do a changeover palm now in the action of taking the handkerchief. And all that's going to happen is I leave the ball on my hand as I turn and take the handkerchief. And you do it as you turn, like this. Okay? So that's the transfer. Just drop it on the fingers as you take the handkerchief with the finger and thumb. All right? I bunch up the handkerchief and I toss it in the hat. When I do, my fingers clip the shell and put it on top of the handkerchief so it's easier to grasp in a moment. And I look here at the elbow and I notice something and I grab and pull out the ball. Now I toss it to the other hand, catch it on the backs of the fingers, and I do the flourish where it rolls down and then curls up against the finger. Once again, it just rolls down, you leave it slip slightly, and then the middle finger pulls it so it rolls against the index finger and into the thumb, and you show it like that. This is a move that Cardini did extremely well, and I think it's really associated with him. Now I roll the ball back to the fingers and thumbs, and I'm going to do this vanish, which I'll repeat again so you see it. Okay. From the back, what's happening, I'm going to give you kind of a side view. You're actually catching the ball between the hands, and the back of the left hand is pushing it into the right hand classic palm. And again, you keep the hand so that it looks like it might have the ball in it. The ball vanishes. And I do a very simple changeover palm. I really have a dislike for this kind of changeover palm because it kind of sends an unsaid message to me like, I have the ball hidden in my hand and you can't see it, you idiots. So I don't want to do that. I would rather just come to a rest and let the ball transfer from hand to hand just as I come to a rest position and look in the hat. So I'm focusing my attention there. That's the misdirection that allows me to do that hand-to-hand transfer. And now when I pick up the handkerchief, I'm grabbing the shell first and classic palming the shell. So that happens as I pick up the handkerchief, and I transfer the handkerchief to the other hand. Now this loosely bunched handkerchief covers the ball that's palmed. I grab one of the corners and turn this way. Now the remainder of the handkerchief is covering the shell that's palmed. And I stroke the handkerchief gently and then squeeze, and our friend Mr. Friction causes the ball to travel to the top of my fist just like this. And I show the ball, and I spread open the handkerchief and place it over my hand and, of course, over the shell. Now I take the ball, I place it squarely in the middle of the shell, and I roll and push it. And this is to ensure that it actually goes in the shell and stays nice and tight. This is a move of Billy McCombs that he created, I think, back in the 60s with the original Ireland rubber balls. And I just think it's such an amazing thing for an audience to see. You show the penetration, and then you stop and you say, oh, no. And here it is, and you take it off your hand and show it on both sides. So the shell is here, and now when you want to complete it, all you have to do is hold the shell from beneath and pull the handkerchief, and that will allow the ball to ride over the handkerchief into the shell. I squeeze it and toss it into the air just like that. Okay? And now you put the handkerchief in the hat, but you need to steal the ball that's in there. And to do that, I have my fingers free back here. My fingers free. As I go in, I'm grabbing the ball and putting it into classic palm as I produce the ball by the standard roll out of the shell. And that just is the finger coming down, rolling it out of the shell. Now you're going into the wakeling portion, which is loading the ball into the shell. I'll do it from this side as you take the ball away. But you have to do it so that you turn the shell as you show. And when the audience is close enough, I'll often go and just make a clicking sound with my mouth. So, you know, anybody who's nearby, it sounds like they're wooden balls. And I go back to the position up here and I steal the ball from the shell. And so what's happening is as I put the ball in, these fingers cop the ball right out of the shell, just like this. That happens up here. I'll do it again. You show the ball, you place it here. And now you're going to reverse the standard ball into the shell, like that. But the larger motion of the arm covers the smaller motion of the shell, the ball rolling into the shell. Now you look at the arm again, and you produce the ball, and you place it back, and again, steal the ball from the shell. Now you're going to do a reverse shell vanish that Tommy Wonder had shown to me. I don't think it was his move, but he'd shown it to me, where instead of rolling the ball into the shell, you're turning the hand and rolling the shell over the ball. It gives a kind of a different look to it. A very open look, like you're tossing it. Let me do that again for you. Like that. And now you look again, and you transfer this back to the standard position as you pull out the ball from the shell. You steal, and now you're going to pretend to do it the third time, tossing the ball away, but nothing happens. You look down, pull the ball out of the elbow, and as you go to put it back, you notice for the first time there's 3 balls there. That ball didn't vanish, and you show the 3 balls. And now as you cover, you're going to roll the ball back into the shell very, very quickly. And you're going to take that and rub it against your pants. And you show your hand empty. You reach in and you're going to secretly grab and palm one of the balls as you visibly bring out the other. And as you do, you roll the ball back out of the shell. So in the minds of the audience, you've changed 2 balls to 4. So you get a much more of an impact there. And now there's a very standard move where you turn the shell like this. But to me, there was never really a motivation for it. And so I wanted to give the motivation by counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and using that hand turn to cover that motion. And I produce the ball from the elbow just like that. I hold it here. You get a nice little display. You drop 1, then you drop the shell, and then the other balls, and you're in a perfect applause gesture.